to Brooklyn, New York. Maimonides Park, the site tonight, as Charleston Battery, rounding into form, takes a visit to Maimonides Park to take on Brooklyn FC, who's trying to right this ship. Alongside Eric Dobransky, I'm Josh Bell. Thanks so much for spending part of your Saturday night with us here on ESPN+. And Eric, for Brooklyn, they won their inaugural match back on March 9th, 1-0 against Indy, but since then, they faltered.
Yeah, and Josh, they're striving for balance. It's a group that kicked off, as you can see, a season with a clean sheet, but since then, 4 straight losses, 9 goals conceded, and only one goal scored. A welcome sight to be back at home, because all 3 of their home matches, although 2 of those 3 being defeats, have been 1-goal games.
Yeah, the last one, a 1-0 defeat here to Louisville City. Now, they made a change in goal. 3rd consecutive start here for Jackson Lee.
20 appearances for Rhode Island last season, so he's going to be central to guiding that balance. He'll make the saves you need your goalkeeper to make, but also his presence in possession. He can get involved with his high-quality range, his decisions, and it will be very influential tonight in how this temperature of this match is played out and how it's defined.
On the other side for Charleston Battery, they're coming off of a monumental win at Louisville City for a number of different reasons. First ever win at Lynn Family Stadium, and it was win number 100 for their head coach, Ben Pierman.
A massive response for the Charleston Battery and a collective performance that they need to replicate tonight. They were efficient, effective, and that led to punishing moments that led to 3 points. This is a team that ranks in the top 3 in the USL Championship at conversion rate. That is a characteristic that you like your team to have.
You can see it right there. The clean sheet win, 2-0, 3 shots on target, 2 found the back of the net, 1 from Lauren Kisiedu and 1 from Kirill Palmov, the rookie out of Marshall. That second goal off an assist from Joey Apononu was massive insurance for them.
Yeah, first career professional goal, but the performance has been leading him there. He has been detailed in his two-way presence. He can disguise his movement into space, trigger some exciting chances, and then off the ball, tremendous at squeezing space, screening passes, making it difficult for opponents to build out, and space is going to be at a premium tonight.
Well, Charleston Battery will look to build on last week's performance against Lou City with another win on the road against a struggling Brooklyn FC side that's trying to right the ship against one of the league's best. We'll have lineup and kick coming up next from Maimonides Park in Brooklyn, New York on this chilly night in the Northeast.
Hearts. No two beat the same. So we built a team of the best heart surgeons, pioneers of the most modern techniques, who always find the one approach that's best for you. But while each surgery is unique, the outcome is the same: the highest success rates. NYU Langone Health.
Welcome back to Maimonides Park in Brooklyn. Charleston Battery and Brooklyn FC moments away from kick. Josh Appel, Eric Dobransky getting set to bring you this one as Charleston Battery looks to build off of their monumental win a week ago at Lou City. And we take a look at tonight's starting 11s. First, for Marlon LeBlanc and Brooklyn FC, they've got to get it going.
Yeah, and this is going to be a group that leans heavily on the midfield to be the pace setters here at home, specifically Tommy McNamara. His experience, quality, be important with how this team plays out of pressure, but also how they attack this Battery team.
And for Ben Pierman, now 100 wins in his career.
And a team that looks to weaponize their defense. I mean, Miguel Berry will lead that charge, do all the work on and off the ball. Luis Zamudio was incredible in that Lou City match. Obviously, a number of tremendous performances early on, but 2 critical saves for the team's first clean sheet of the season.
They played a back 5 against Lou City, which is not something that we're accustomed to seeing from Ben Pierman's side. They dropped Sean Suber out of the midfield, put him on the back line, and it worked to perfection as they held Louisville to a clean sheet at Lynn Family Stadium, which does not happen in league play very often. We'll talk plenty about that as the match tonight goes on. Brooklyn FC, only one team has scored fewer goals than them this year, and that's Monterey Bay. Brooklyn have just 2 goals on this season. Brad Jensen, our referee tonight as we get underway. Brooklyn FC in the black, Charleston in the white. Josh Appel, Eric Dobransky with you from Maimonides Park. Eric, let's talk more about that Charleston win last week against Lou City. First win at Lynn Family Stadium in 12 tries. It snapped Lou City's 26-match home unbeaten streak in the regular season, their 20-match regular season unbeaten streak overall. It was the perfect away performance, their first clean sheet of the season.
And exactly the response that the collective was looking for. Obviously, Ben Pierman, the coaching staff, the individual players had been disappointed with their overall performances leading up to that match, thought they were going to get a bounce-back response in their Open Cup game at Charlotte Independence from their match at Detroit City, their league match, their 1-0 defeat. Didn't get it, were eliminated from Open Cup play. And what a way to go on the road to Lou City, get the performance, change system. Obviously, Ben Pierman was so high on his coaching staff on how they went about implementing and structuring it and being clear with the roles and identifying a lot of the areas in which those changes were going to come. And they put together that complete performance that a lot of people dream of in terms of that response and going to Lou City and getting a result like that.
Yeah, they thought they would have to absorb 90 minutes worth of pressure from Simon Bird and his Lou City side, but really Lou City never got anything sustained against Charleston until maybe the last 10-15 minutes when they were already down 2-0. Luis Zamudio had to make a couple of excellent saves, Save of the Week nominees. But when you go on the road to a place like that, you come away with that performance when you're in the current in the form that they were in. You mentioned the loss to Charlotte Independence. Ben Pierman is not a yelling rah-rah guy with his group, but he told us he laid into his team at halftime of that Charlotte game. They came up on the short end, but they played a strong second half of the Open Cup, and it carried over into that Lou City performance.
And said they had to have some difficult conversations after that match. And this being the 4th road match in 3 weeks for the Charleston Battery. So not only are you not necessarily getting the results and performances you're looking for, because Ben Pierman will be the first to tell you that the performances are what lead the results in terms of you need to put yourself in a position.
Trying to put themselves in a position for an early goal. Jackson Lee to grab that on a hop in the 4th minute.
And also for that Lou City game, mentions an early first half goal does change the dynamic of a match quite a bit. I mean, that 21st minute goal It's a solid start for Lou City as we see Marlon LeBlanc. His group just striving for that consistency. You mentioned the 3 matches at home, all being 1-goal differences. 1-0 loss just most recently to Lou City.
On an own goal.
Yep. 2-1 result against Hartford. Opened up the season with that 1-0 versus Indy 11. But besides that, on the road, lost 3-0 at Detroit City and lost 3-0 to Lexington. So wanting to put in a performance where the fine margins are on full display tonight. Can you win the moments in both boxes? Can you make the plays when they're out there to be made?
One more note on that Charleston win. The 2 goals on 3 shots. 15th team to win while taking 3 or fewer shots since the 2017 season. Remarkable what they've been able to do, and now they turn their attention to Brooklyn FC, the league's newest team. Charleston, the league's oldest. First season to play back in 1993. And you mentioned Marlon LeBlanc and Brooklyn searching for answers. Marlon's a guy who, as we look at the Charleston bench, Marlon is a guy who has won at every single stop that he's been. Whether it's at West Virginia, where he spent 2006-2019, 6 NCAA tournament appearances, spent 2020 to 2024 as a head coach for Union 2, conference semi-appearance, playoff appearance, Eastern Conference champions. This is a guy who's used to winning, and he's just trying to search for answers right now. They've got Juan Carlos Obregon Jr., Golden Boot winner from League One a season ago, a couple of former players from his time in Philadelphia Union, like Marcus Anderson, who has the other goal for Brooklyn FC this year. There are some solid veterans, Tommy McNamara, Thomas Van Kaziel. I mean, there are guys on this team that on paper, you feel like they should be better than a 1-4 start.
Yeah, and it's all about the balance in both boxes. You have to find it because right now it's very tilted. 2 goals for, 9 goals against on the season. Second fewest goals scored with the 2, and then 4th most goals allowed in the 9. Have to deal with this free kick, which is something for the Charleston Battery. You've seen an uptick in chances created from these dead ball restarts.
Colton Swan and Jeremy Kelly make that Messer. Messer delivers in. Swan is waiting on it. The header is put over the bar. Great chance out in front for Charleston Battery. Started with Colton Swan, and I believe that was Graham Smith who put that high.
Yeah, you get the left-footed delivery from Messer.
That was Ikaza, excuse me.
And then Colton Swan gets on the end of it, but how he gets wide open, obviously a Brooklyn defender on the turf. But an early kind of warning shot from Charleston Battery and something for Brooklyn. Look to fine-tune those defensive moments.
Cervania with the foul. There's Nathan Messer. What an addition he's been. Leads the team in chances created. Coming from Portland Hearts of Pine. Converted to a left back with Portland and really took it in stride. Became a first-team player in League One. And he has fit in seamlessly here for Charleston Battery, which, if you tuned into our Lou City broadcast last week, or if you have been following Charleston Battery at all, you know how much goal production they're replacing this season. They scored 62 goals last year to pace the league. 53 of those goals are elsewhere in 2026. So there's a lot to make up for. And so far, with all the question marks and that 2-match stretch that included the loss in the Open Cup to Charlotte Independence, in league play, this Charleston team is 3-1-0 with a win at Lou City.
Yeah, we were talking to Ben Pierman about the areas in which they're going to continue to evolve and grow. They're generating a chance here.
Here's Messer. Good job by Brooklyn FC to defend and get rid of it, but Graham Smith steps right back up and gets it over to Palmov.
And that right there is a key to their identity, is regaining possession higher up the field. Obviously, you get the ball in the final third, you turn it over, but you're there to climb the field, put yourself in a position where you can recirculate the ball. But talking to Ben Pierman about how this team was going to continue to evolve, we mentioned it, there was that week, 2 weeks that they felt like the performances weren't there, and they weren't, but you're still 3-1.
Here's Olney laying it wide for Anderson. Anderson to his right. Cervania top of the area. Brooklyn FC strikes first at home. Oh, they really needed that.
And this was good recognition all around, able to get themselves on the ball, drive into space. Then you find the patience, but it doesn't mean anything until you recognize that last runner. Good finish, knew all the traffic was in front. He really had to concentrate on the placement itself. And that is the start that Marlon LeBlanc and this Brooklyn FC side were looking for. Had to absorb here early on. Found some key outlets, and when you can find that structure and those distances when you do get yourself back on the ball, those are going to be key elements in providing that sustained threat, and a threat that pushes your opponent deeper and deeper, and making sure they recognize that there is going to be those plays to be made going forward. And what a start for Brooklyn FC.
First goal after being shut out in their last 2 matches. First goal since March 21st against Hartford Athletic in the 2-1 defeat. And now it's a corner kick coming for Brooklyn. And you think back to the chance out in front of goal for Emilio Icaza. He can't convert, he heads it high. And then a couple of moments later, Brooklyn FC turn it into the lead.
And now earning a corner kick here, playing with a lot of confidence.
Olney, who got that last build-up started, curls it in. It was off of Charleston Battery, so Brooklyn FC will get another chance at a quarter. Jaden Cervania, 24 years old, over 100 appearances over 4 seasons with North Carolina FC. Helped them win a 2023 League One title. Has his first with Brooklyn. Only curls it in, front post. Brooklyn apoplectic, wanting a handball. They don't get the call from Brad Jensen. And play continues. Charleston may have caught a break. Long ball for Kisiedu. He scored his first for the Battery over 3,000 days after he signed. Now, of course, this is his second stint with Charleston, but it was great to see him deposit one. Icaza slides it through. Hit off Colton Swan. Jeremy Kelly was in the area as well. Martinez, his cross deflected out for a throw. Here's one more look at that possible handball.
It looks like it makes first contact off a Brooklyn player, and you just can't clearly see which hand it comes off. It does look like it takes an odd deflection. This is where Miguel Berry is going to try to make first contact.
Interesting that Ben Pierman elected to put Joey Apononu on the bench to start this one. Not to say that Sean Suber isn't more than capable at center back next to Graham Smith. Suber, of course, a finalist for Defender of the Year last year in Pittsburgh's run to winning the trophy. First season with Charleston is, as we said, been playing more in a midfield role for Ben Pierman at the beginning of this season. Tonight makes the start at center back, and Apononu available for selection off the bench as Messer carries ahead for Charleston. Kisiedu tried to squeak it through. Could not. Anderson nearly created the turnover. Suber. This is an excellent start for Brooklyn FC, and they're looking to add on to their 1-0 lead. Palma from behind took down Stojanovic. Play continues. Brad Jensen keeps the whistle. Kelly, he had the assist, a beautiful one on the Kisiedu goal, the first and what turned out to be the game winner against Lou City last week. Palma, the Russian rookie, lays it wide for Martinez. Kelly, across, nobody home in white. Messer coming up for it. Messer keeps it in. Now it's Ikaza, approaching 10,000 career minutes after he reached 100 career appearances earlier this year. 4th year, longest tenured player for the Battery. Messer rolls it along, looking for Colton Swan. And he was cut off by Van Kaziel, who had the own goal against Lou City. I feel like that week off for Brooklyn came at a great time for them to kind of recalibrate, reset, and get ready for this one.
Yeah, sometimes it is so important to your point, just reset. Start looking at some of the basics.
Stojanovic for Olney. The flag was up, though, for offside, so that goal will not count. And, of course, no VAR in USL Championship. Olney thinks he was onside.
And it looked like he was going to win that territory. And if you just were able to hold your run just a split second longer, yeah, right there at the end, because it looked like he had that space in between Graham Smith and Sean Suber. You can see the belief that Brooklyn's playing with now with the early goal. Defensively, they're making it difficult. And you talk to teams coming into playing on this surface, in this space. You don't want to change the narrative too much because obviously it's a soccer pitch. You don't want to get too much into the dimensions and the size of the field, but it is something you have to get used to. The proximity is closer, so a lot of the spacing that you're used to or accustomed to, defenders closing you down is quicker. The space that you run out of in the final third is faster.
Go from playing on a surface like the one at Lynn Family Stadium, which is widely considered to be top of the league, to a turf's pitch that is a bit smaller and more condensed, to your point, and it is a bit of a change. And Ben Pierman told us, we know that, and we've accounted for it, and we'll do our best to be ready for it.
And you could just see them growing into this game, obviously, before the goal, and they still have seen a lot of the ball and been able to do a lot of the possessing in Brooklyn FC's half. Still, other than that free kick that led to that far post opportunity from Colton Swan and then Ikaza, nothing clear cut.
Kelly. And that was last off of Van Kaziel for a throw to Charleston Battery. Brooklyn FC fans, this is your chance to get even closer to the action and experience Brooklyn FC from a whole new perspective. Scan the QR code on the screen to enter for a chance to win 4 seats in Brooklyn FC new pitchside seating area. These seats put you just steps from the action where every pass, every tackle, and every goal happens right in front of you. Anderson, who had the assist on the Cervania goal, is fouled there by Palmov.
And that is a terrific display of how Brooklyn's going to want to get out of their defensive half in the moments that they don't have that higher player. Marcus Anderson's dropped all the way deep to be that down press, to be helped defensively. When you get back on the ball, you just don't have that outlet going forward. So how do you do that? You're clever on the ball. Your timing is spot on with your teammates. You earn a free kick, and then here you are climbing out of your own half.
Okayoshi, the team leader in minutes, moves it over to Cervania. Now Stojanovic pops it in the air and cleared away by Graham Smith for Brooklyn FC. Not sure if this is a corner or if it's a throw. Our angle's cut off there in the bottom right. Looks like this will be a corner for Brooklyn FC. I mean, the first 19 minutes of this match for Brooklyn have been exactly what Marlon LeBlanc could have wanted.
Yeah, you look at final third entries right now, Charleston Battery with 24, Brooklyn with 7. Only 5 touches in the opposition box for the Charleston Battery. So out of the 24 final third entries, you only got 5 touches there. So protecting the 18-yard box extremely well, Brooklyn is.
Cervania, service is in, it's short. And last touch by Charleston, out for another corner. Olney across. Latinovic battling with Barry. Pop back into the area in front of goal. Zamudio out to grab it. And the whistle blows here, and it looks like Cervania is going to be served a yellow. And he will be. That is indeed the case.
And I know a lot of the times we talk about defenders putting themselves on early yellows, as this is one that will always be called. Trying to block the goalkeeper in the 18-yard box. And for Cervania,
try for a little gamesmanship there.
Yeah, but now he's got to be measured the rest of the match. When you think of some of the shoulder-to-shoulder, some of the physical play that you see in and around the 18-yard box, especially for a creative player like himself, you're going to kind of lean into some of those moments. So now you have to make sure that it's not a moment that'll earn you another yellow and put your team in a difficult situation.
The USL on the CBS Sports Network kicks off on April 18th with an Eastern Conference showdown. V's Charleston Battery will take on the fast start Tampa Bay Rowdies at 3 p.m. Eastern. Catch the action on the CBS Sports Network on April 18th. An exciting day for Charleston Battery because earlier this week they unveiled their 1996 anniversary kits that commemorate the 30th anniversary of their first league title, USISL Pro League. Took direct inspiration from those same uniforms worn back in August of 1996 at Stony Field when the Battery defeated Charlotte Eagles to claim the crown. And they will wear those on the 18th next week on CBS Sports Network against Tampa Bay Rowdies.
And let's see if Tampa Bay can stay perfect on the season.
Tough one with Oakland tonight. Yep. They are at home, though.
Hosting Oakland Roots tonight, Ryan Martin's group. The only team that is unblemished.
Messer wide. Stojanovic comes over to help. Messer right through him. Messer, his cross was blocked by Van Kaziel.
You just continue to see the ground coverage from Nathan Messer. Obviously, a lot of two-way responsibility, defending and attacking, but the recognition and his ability to be timely in the moments that he needs to get back, and then also the sequences where he can involve himself in the attack, as we see Tommy McNamara now on the ball.
Over 200 MLS appearances in his professional career. Casiedu fouls him from behind.
And I think that's where Tommy McNamara, we talked about them being able to build out of their defensive half. He is sitting in front of this back line. I think only Okiyoshi climb the field and kind of be those attacking players in the midfield. And Tommy McNamara will sit there in front of the back line, be a bit more of a protector.
Ben Pierman was glowing and effusive in his praise for Laurent Casiedu after what he did against Lou City last week. And the staff challenged him to be better. And he took that to heart and not only scored a goal, but Ben Pierman said off the ball, that's as good as Casiedu has looked since he's been coaching him.
Well, and we were talking about, obviously, Ben Pierman earning his 100th career win at Lou City. I mean, what a way to earn it, too. But also the influence Marlon LeBlanc has had all in the levels. And I think both these coaches, you talk to a lot of people around them. Obviously, we've gotten to experience their successes and their experiences across the levels. But they are just coaches that really highlight the strengths of those around them and make them even stronger. And that's a moment for Kisiedu. The performances hadn't necessarily been there, but the belief from the coaching staff, and Ben Pierman was there. He said they were going to start him that night, and he was going to reward the group, and he did just that with the opening goal in the 21st minute, and obviously ended up being the game winner. But beside that, the work rate in both boxes, the disruptive play defensively. I mean, he was vital to that game-winning goal, but also the clean sheet.
Ben Pierman became the second youngest and the second quickest to 100 victories in USL Championship last week, the former coach of the year. One of the best in the business. But his side finds themselves down 1-0 after the goal by Jadon Cervania in the 9th minute. Marcus Anderson on the assist. Palmov looking in the direction of Kisiedu. It comes down for Barry. Barry with McNamara hounding him. McNamara was able to jar it free, and then a collision. Cervania went down courtesy of Palmov, and a yellow is coming out. Emilio Icaza trying to voice his displeasure, wearing the captain's armband once again for Charleston tonight. Let's take another look.
And that's that eagerness and commitment that you get from the Charleston Battery, that once they do get dispossessed, they immediately locate where the higher ground is, what positioning they need to take, but that just a step late, going right through Cervania. You got to believe that anybody that plays the Charleston Battery, and you spoke to it earlier, how many goals they're replacing. I mean, that is a loud number. How many goals and goal contributions that they're trying to generate. But you also don't have to look very far to see how potent this attack can be. I mean, down 2-0 at home against Birmingham. 2 counterattacking goals for Birmingham. They're up 2-0 at the break. 3 second-half goals, a brace in the second half from Emilio Icaza. They go on to win that 3-2. 28 shots in that game, but then the very next week, only 1 shot at Detroit City, and then you go to lose, and then obviously sprinkle in the U.S. Open Cup defeat midweek. But then you go to Lou City, 3 shots, 2 goals. So just show so much variety in how they can attack you and how they can hurt opponents. So for Brooklyn FC, pleased with the performance thus far as we take a look at Marlon LeBlanc and his staff. 27 minutes in, but you also get a sense that you need to go find and earn that second goal. It doesn't have to be now, but you're playing good collective defending in and around the box. You're limiting and minimizing some of the threat. But you need to continue to be front-footed in some of those actions going forward, some of those spaces that you occupy when you do regain possession with Charleston Battery having numbers going forward.
Charleston really haven't been able to create an opportunity since the Icaza header in the opening minutes. Anderson back to his right. Look at that speed. He goes down courtesy of Messer, and then Stojanovic collides with Anderson. A lot of physicality down on that end in this first half so far.
We haven't seen consistent or heavy involvement from Marcus Anderson, but we have seen effective influence from Marcus Anderson. Every time he's been on the ball, he has really challenged the Charleston Battery in a lot of difficult moments, and that's allowed Stojanovic to put himself in some progressive situations. Obviously, Cervania benefits from the pass from Marcus Anderson on the goal. But you also have to like what this group is looking for when they do regain possession. They understand that when they regain it and they do need to go sideways or backwards to reset themselves, or when they do have that outlet, and Marcus Anderson has been consistent where he wants to climb and the space he wants to occupy.
Messer played through him a lot in this first half to this point. Suber for Martinez, only watching him right in front of Ben Pierman. Suber and Graham Smith, what a center back pairing that is. Brooklyn have found the icebreaker on this 60-degree night at Maimonides Park. Casiedu trying to get there. Latinovic cuts him off. Jeremy Kelly, who's been, in Ben Pierman's opinion, their best player to this point. Suber. Casiedu moves it along for Palmov. Kirill Palmov creating space, lays it wide for Messer. Messer cuts it across. And Casio got in the way. And it's cleared.
So composed in that touch right now. And we mentioned Apononu not in the starting 11, and we talk about this group defensively, and especially those two center backs right now that are on the field. But the ability for Charleston Battery to be playmaking center backs is so crucial to the way they play. Releases their outside backs. Good defensive work from Martinez.
Creates the turnover, gives off to Casiedu. Has space through the middle, leaves it for Messer. Kelly's to his left, and he receives it. Palmov on the switch for Martinez. Alves watching him. Latinovic and Olney circling on Casiedu. That came through, and again, Brooklyn able to clear.
And what you don't want to do if you're Brooklyn is start to retreat too early and often into your own 18-yard box. Obviously, you've done a tremendous job thus far of minimizing the threat, blocking passes, blocking shots, blocking service. We just saw one on the Nathan Messer opportunity as we now see him climb centrally.
Casiedu gave it away. Now Stojanovic with a little bit of room. Stojanovic tees it up and scores! It took a little over a half hour tonight, Eric, but Brooklyn FC have already equaled their season total of goals. They've got 2 in a little more than 30 minutes. And it's Stojanovic who scores his first with Brooklyn.
And it's just been decisive from Brooklyn FC. Their ability, look at that subtle pass from Tommy McNamara, but it leads to this big pass in Stojanovic. And not to take away from the far-sided run from only the ability to attract a defender to that far post, and it still leaves Stojanovic 1v1, and just a cracker of a goal from Stojanovic. He's so devastating in those 1v1s, and you knew that as soon as he got his head up and he was isolated, if the other players around him were still able to occupy the defenders in that space, he was going to be decisive in his final action. And that he was, and now this Brooklyn FC side are up 2-0 and feeling good about how they're playing in both boxes.
This is their largest lead in club history in USL Championship. 2-0. Cervenia and now Stojanovic, and Marcus Anderson assisted on both goals.
Yeah, that simple pass for Tommy McNamara, and then Marcus Anderson mentioned the work that he is doing, being efficient, being clever, not necessarily seeing a high volume, but seeing high quality. And only he's been crucial to a lot of what's going on in and around the box. Cervenia's been able to get on the ball.
This is almost like a reverse Lou City for Charleston, where they've had the ball for about 72% of the match, first 33 and a half minutes. Brooklyn's taken 2 shots. They've scored on both, and they were both great chances. Although this is where, I don't know how you feel about XG. I'm an XG guy normally, but the XG for Brooklyn right now, 0.09. I'm not certain how we're calculating it in this situation, because those are 2 really good chances from just outside the 18.
Yeah, and I'm not nearly good enough at math to.
Well, neither am I. Don't worry.
Yeah, try to figure that out. This is a good opportunity.
Casado, he tees it up. It's blocked, but it comes right down for Messer. Messer, it was deflected out for a corner. So how does Charleston, down 2-0 away from home, trying to ride the momentum of last week, respond here? Going down 2-0 to Brooklyn FC. Oh, hey, by the way, quick update. The XG for Brooklyn now at 0.16. So
still doesn't help my math. But the Charleston Battery knew they were going to get Brooklyn FC's best shot. We talked about the time off. You can kind of refocus, reset, work on some of those fine-tuning details. This is going to be an area that they want to deal with very well.
Kelly plays it towards the back post, sitting around in there for Charleston. I believe they're going to get a handball on the Battery or a foul, one or the other. Ikaza talking it over with Brad Jensen. Dangerous ball in.
Yeah, you put a lot of traffic in and around Jackson Lee as we see the handball. When you put numbers around the goalkeeper, that tends to also connect defenders around the goalkeeper. So you have a lot of bodies you got to work through. This is an area that the Charleston Battery have always been keen on, but seen a lot of chances generated from them this season.
Watch the USL Championship in Spanish on Tuda NA, the nation's leading Spanish language sports network. Go to uslchampionship.com for the complete USL TV listings. Ben Pierman told us that this Brooklyn team, dangerous moment there as Anderson continues to wreak havoc. 2 assists and nearly created a giveaway. Colton Swan called for the foul there, but he said to us, Ben Pierman did, they're an expansion club. Their record is their record, but they are way more talented than what their record says. You know, their game against Louisville City he thought was tough. The goal was an unfortunate giveaway, led to the own goal. And they understand full well all that comes with going up here to Brooklyn. And they've played in the attacking half, which is what they want, but they just haven't been able to convert, and Brooklyn have on their 2 chances.
Yeah, for Charleston Battery, it just becomes about shot selection and service and the quality that they get into the box. Some of the moments where they have the option to upgrade and they don't, or they choose to upgrade when it was right in front of them.
What did Ben Pierman tell us about Brooklyn? They're good in transition. Both goals in transition.
Yeah, and it's all started with a subtle pass and then an explosive sequence of runs and decisions for Brooklyn. They have been dynamic in their decision making in a lot of key moments, and that's going to be what they want to continue, because you don't want to take your foot off the gas right now. Obviously, I mentioned that at 1-0, you got to go find the second goal. But this still is a Charleston Battery side that plays with so much belief. As you see the coaching staff implemented a new system, a new style of play last week. Go back to kind of a lot of their identity tonight in terms of the just formationally and tactically.
Corner kick here for Brooklyn, already leading Charleston 2-0. Olney swings it in towards the back post. Zamudio grabs it out of the air.
And I mentioned the Birmingham game for Charleston Battery. I say that just in regards to, obviously, they proved how explosive they can be, but also that they can do it, and they can do it with teetering that fine line between being 2-0 down and making sure that they're the one that scores the next goal, and it doesn't become a 3-0 game, because 3-0 game, that is quite a mountain to climb. But at 2-0, you'd love to get one here before the break, and you feel like you've generated enough side to side. I think they lack a bit of urgency in some of the final third moments. They've been able to go side to side, create some spaces, but kind of finding that ball that initiates some of the pace. But you have to make sure that Brooklyn, who is flying right now, when you get those free kicks, corner kicks for Brooklyn, they're going to throw everything that they have to find and earn that third goal, because they know how important that would be.
No, there's a reason they called the 2-0 advantage the most dangerous lead.
Absolutely.
Charleston hoping to pull one back before the half. Brooklyn trying to make it to the half, up 2-0. And the one thing you don't want to do if you're Marlon LeBlanc and Brooklyn FC is sit back against this Charleston team. They haven't been as prolific as they have been in the past, but if you give them opportunities, eventually they're going to cash in on them.
Absolutely, and that's where I say earlier, don't find yourself retreating into your own 18-yard box unnecessarily or unprovoked, because that's when you kind of invite these clipped services in. You invite the numbers, you invite havoc into your 18-yard box. So make sure you stay as structured as you've been. To the point you made, absolutely spot on. Charleston Battery have not proven to be as prolific as they've been in the past, but they have been, I mean, we saw it against Lou City. They have been efficient and effective, ruthless in some of the key moments.
Kelly floats it in on the free kick. Headed towards goal. Dealt with well. Oh, goodness. Looked like an elbow potentially there on Swan, and he does get called for it. Cervania's scored a goal and taken a few knocks.
Well, and I think that plays into how this team is defending right now and what they're doing in both boxes. Marcus Anderson has been there to down press. Cervania has been heavily involved on the defensive side, obviously scored a goal, the opening goal tonight. We've seen Stojanovic have to track back and help with Nathan Messer. So the commitment that you're getting from your attacking players to go support and help this team collectively, defensively, has been hand in hand in what we see the scoreline.
Select is proud to be the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship. From the grassroots to the pros, Select is there every step of the way. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice. Barry has it taken away. McLaughlin floats. Stojanovic tried to get there, but Palmov is trying to spring Colton Swan. Barry got in the way of that. Could this be an opportunity? Barry nearly ran through Van Kaziel, but Van Kaziel did a good job clearing that away and out for a throw. Martinez to throw in. Natural forward, but the Honduran has settled in at right back for Ben Pierman. Looking at a long throw, chucks it in, flicked up into the air. Ikaza trying to get positioning on Anderson, and then it's sent away by Brooklyn. Stojanovic, who has the second goal, gets to Anderson. He got by Messer. Anderson, as Palmov closes in. Anderson tried to tee it up, and Messer recovered and got a foot on that. It rolls out for a throw. What a first half for Marcus Anderson, who played for Marlon LeBlanc with Philadelphia Union 2.
He's really been the engine for this Brooklyn FC side going forward. See, I talked about the defensive down press from him, but so genuine in the way that he finds space and able to help this team get out of pressure. And that's something that not a lot of teams find a success against Charleston Battery, is playing out of the initial line. Marcus Anderson has been very high level in his ability to be aware of the space that becomes available, but also how he can move defenders to make that space available. Obviously the 2 assists on the night. But I would also say a telling stat that kind of helps the storyline of what we see from the score thus far is 5 corners for Brooklyn FC right now, 1 for Charleston Battery. And that just proves to how committed Brooklyn FC is to get into not only the final third, but to get as deep into the final third as they can get. So you're getting that deflection, you're getting that defensive intervention that leads to a corner. Whereas in Charleston, Battery have really lived on that line of the final third. Haven't seen a lot in and around that end line.
Free kick coming. A pseudo corner essentially for Brooklyn FC. Here in the dying moments of the first half where they already lead 2-0. Goals by Cervenia and Stojanovic. And a whistle before the free kick is sent in.
It looks like Emilio Icaza, Marcus Anderson going at it here in the near post.
Eric, we'll get to it after this free kick, but I want to bring it up because you mentioned this is, for Brooklyn, one match over a 23-day stretch, second of 3 in a row at home. For Charleston, this is the final of a 4-match road trip. They play 6 of 7 on the road. The game against Tampa Bay next week is their only home game between March 28th and April 25th. You got to wonder if maybe the end of this road trip is catching up to Charleston. 4 minutes of stoppage time as this is flicked towards goal. Zamudio punches away. Swan tried to get a piece of it, and Barry does the rest.
And we know, talking to Ben Pierman, and you hear it from the group in a lot of their post-game and pre-match interviews, this is not an excuse-oriented side, but absolutely that has to play into it. Obviously, squad rotation.
Only plays it towards Zamudio, and he falls on it.
Can only do so much to navigate that load because the travel is real. And then on top of that, the quality in which you're playing at every single match. I mean, you even look at the Open Cup game. I mean, took extra time to get that result. They had to battle back from 2-0 down to go 2-2, go to extra time, concede in the 118th minute.
To Vigo Ortiz, of all players, former Charleston Battery.
So you go deep into a midweek game after a tough road trip to Detroit City. Then you go to Lou City. Obviously picking up 3 points, but that was an absolute grind of a game. That last 15 minutes, they generated some chances that could have changed the narrative of that game, as again, we continue to see Marcus Anderson's involvement.
Jackson Lee, who has been very rarely tested in this first half. No shots on target. 3 shot attempts for Charleston, comes up to take this free kick. Alvis, and that's out for a Charleston throw. McLaughlin sent that into the middle. Icaza got rid of it. Barry for Kelly. He kept that in, much like he did for his assist against Lou City last week. Kelly, excellent job to get around McLaughlin. Cuts to the middle. Stojanovic from behind. Kelly trying to lead Martinez. Can Alvis get there first? Martinez does. Laying out in front. Barry gets there. It's Messer. Barry still has it. Barry turns. It's deflected. And Lee out to jump on it. So a little bit of pressure there from Charleston Battery, but no clear look at goal.
And a much-needed intervention defensively there for Brooklyn, because it looked like Miguel Barry had picked out the channel he wanted to take that shot from distance, but that deflection takes a lot of the pace out of it. And for Brooklyn FC, we talk about, obviously, mindset not changing. So how do you play with this lead? How do you continue to maintain the momentum? I mean, obviously, plays like this help.
Anderson tried to find Stojanovic on the right side, but Played towards Zamudio, who clears.
Yeah, anytime you can dispossess Charleston Battery at midfield and put yourself in a situation where you're 3v3, 3v2, those are going to be some scary moments as we see Kisiedu on the ground.
McNamara picks up a yellow. It looks like McNamara stepped on the left ankle of Kisiedu.
I know he picks up a yellow, but that play where you're seeing moments of the game tick away going into the break, your opponent gets the positioning on you, you have to make that play and you pick up the yellow, and that's fine because then it gives your team the opportunity to see this half out.
And there is the whistle for halftime. After a week off, Brooklyn welcomed in a team riding high after a win at Lewis City and Charleston Battery. But it's Brooklyn FC who have the commanding 2-0 lead at the half.
Yeah, for Brooklyn, how do you continue to keep that structure that has led you to this 2-0 advantage, but that has also led into the freedom in the attacking third? And for Charleston Battery, just shot selection, quality services, that's going to be the upgrade.
Cervania and Stojanovic, the goals for Brooklyn. A 2-0 lead at the half. Back to 4 in Brooklyn after this.
Hearts. No two beat the same. So we built a team of the best heart surgeons, pioneers of the most modern techniques, who always find the one approach that's best for you. But while each surgery is unique, the outcome is the same: the highest success rates. NYU Langone Health.
Back at Maimonides Park in Brooklyn, it's the expansion side, Brooklyn FC, leading the oldest club in USL Championship, Charleston Battery, 2-0. We mentioned Brooklyn FC, one of the expansion sides in USL Championship this season. Let's learn more about what's going on around the league with our expansion clubs.
With the field for World Cup 2026 now set, the USL can enjoy its place in the countdown to history. Never before has an active USL player taken part in a World Cup, until now. For the past 2.5 years, more than 30 players from USL Championship and League One battled through World Cup qualifying. This summer, 6 of them have a chance to hit the field for their respective countries. Miami FC teammates Eloy Rom and Jurgen Lacadia made history, helping Curacao qualify for the World Cup for the first time ever. Curacao will face Germany, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador in group play. And for the first time since 1974, Haiti will take part in the World Cup, following a very unique road through qualifying. 4 championship players Duke Lacroix, and Garvin Methuselah of Colorado Springs, Delence Pierre from FC Tulsa, and Carl Sente from New Mexico United led Haiti through qualifying without playing a home match. Now the Haitian team faces a tough group at the World Cup with matches against Brazil, Morocco, and Scotland. But while World Cup qualifying owned the spotlight in late March, several USL players took part on U.S. youth national teams, also on the world stage. Colton Swan of Charleston Battery scored a goal for the U.S. under-20 team against Argentina in Argentina. Orange County SC's Tyson Espy played for the under-17 team in Paraguay. And the U.S. under-18 team played in Portugal, featuring Ramiz Hamuda from Birmingham Legion, Brandon Days of Louisville City, and Jameer Johnson from Orange County SC.
This week on USL All Access, which championship team benefited the most from the third round Open Cup draw? Ben Pierman, head coach of the Charleston Battery, becomes the second youngest and second fastest to 100 USL Championship victories. And how about MD Myers? Forward from the Tampa Bay Rowdies joins us to talk his unique career path and what it's like being the main man under Dom Casciato.
It is halftime in the USL Championship. We hope you're enjoying your match so far. I'm Dan Lucas inside the USL studio with a look at some of the headlines this week. Charleston Battery head coach Ben Pierman achieved his 100th victory in the championship in Week 5, the 6th coach in championship history to reach that milestone. And that 2-0 win was a big one, Charleston's first ever road victory against Louisville City. We have 4 remaining unbeaten teams: San Antonio, El Paso, Hartford, and Tampa Bay. The Rowdies are the lone team with all wins so far, 4 of them thanks in big part to crunch time. 4 goals scored in the final 15 minutes of matches plus added time, and 5 goals scored by substitutes. So our USL Championship Coach of the Month is no surprise. Dominic Casciato of those Tampa Bay Rowdies. Casciato helped rebuild that roster during the offseason and right now has everything working as planned. National broadcasts coming up in the USL Championship. Charleston Battery hosting those Rowdies next Saturday, and USL Cup El Clamico style, Rhode Island and Hartford. That match is on the 25th. Both of those matches are on CBS Sports Network. We're getting closer to the second half. This is the USL Halftime Update. Let's get you back out to your match.
The header is down. It's in. Charleston takes the lead and stops.
Nice ball sent in. Doubles the Rowdies lead.
Prinks Tires in the USL help soccer journeys everywhere to drive harder. From city playgrounds to suburban sidelines, from early mornings to late nights, from fun with friends to winner takes all, from the biggest fan to the biggest heart. And at every turn, Prinks Tires will be there for the long haul.
Pain doesn't care who you are or why you hurt, but pain can be mastered if you know the way. Fight back with Tiger Balm's legendary herbal power. Trusted for over 100 years, our proven blend of camphor, menthol, and essential oils tames pain with the strength and speed of the tiger, so that you can rise above pain and get back to living. This is the way of the tiger.
No two beat the same. So we built a team of the best heart surgeons, pioneers of the most modern techniques, who always find the one approach that's best for you. But while each surgery is unique, the outcome is the same: the highest success rates. NYU Langone Health.
Welcome back to Maimonides Park in Brooklyn. It's the expansion side, Brooklyn FC, with a 2-0 lead over Charleston Battery. Josh Appel, Eric Dobransky with you here. Let's take a look around USL Championship at some of our out-of-town scores. A busy night in the championship. 1-0 full-time earlier today. Sporting Jack still winless in their expansion season. How about Rhode Island on the road at the half, leading Lexington 2-0. Anything else jump out at you?
Yeah, a lot of important second halves coming up, but Darren Smith for Detroit City, obviously somebody that Charleston Battery are very familiar with. Early goal in that game, leads the league in scoring. But El Paso on the road at Hartford, up 3-0. I mean, they have two of the top three leading goal scorers in the USL Championship right now. El Paso is going to be someone to reckon with.
Junior Gonzalez doing a great job in his first season as head coach at El Paso. 0-0 Orange County Tulsa, big Western Conference showdown there. And East Coast versus West Coast in Tampa.
I was going to say that Tampa Bay Rowdies Oakland Roots game is massive. Early goal for Tampa Bay Rowdies, and then an own goal just a few minutes later to equalize at 1-1. Mentioned it in the first half. Tampa Bay Rowdies, the only team in the league right now. 4 games, 4 wins, all 12 points.
We'll come back here to Brooklyn in just a moment with our first half stats and highlights. It's 2-0 to Brooklyn FC.
Hearts. No two beat the same. So we built a team of the best heart surgeons, pioneers of the most modern techniques, who always find the one approach that's best for you. But while each surgery is unique, the outcome is the same: the highest success rates. NYU Langone Health.
Josh Appel, Eric Dobransky with you from Maimonides Park. Nightfall is upon us. 2-0 to Brooklyn FC at the half. Let's dive in to our first half highlights. Not a lot of possession, Eric, for Brooklyn FC, but they turned their transition moments into a couple of goals. Starting here with Jaden Cervania, his first for Brooklyn FC.
And that's been the difference for Brooklyn FC. Their sturdiness and reliability defensively, but then also the decision-making and the recognition into those transition moments. Marcus Anderson has been all over the field. Heavy involvement in terms of the quality of that involvement. And we did see an uptick in overall involvement towards the end of the first half, but this tee up for Cervania, obviously clinical finish, knowing that he has to fight through traffic, but then you just need to put it on frame. And Tess Zamudio gets him stuck on his line. And then right here, Tommy McNamara recognizes, get Marcus Anderson on the ball. A couple dribble and drive, and then let this man, Stojanovic, tee up from there, go 1v1. Subtle movement to the left, draws the defenders and keeps them there, and then just the punishing finish from distance, up 2-0, and have to feel like this is a good rhythm for this Brooklyn FC side in both boxes.
How could Charleston Battery claw their way back? They've had the majority, literally the majority of the possession in this match, 70-30, more shot attempts, but only one on target.
I think it also goes to recognition and upgrading some moments in the final third and finding that urgency, that commitment to get to the end line. Ben Pierman's always talked about that assist zone, and that's towards that end line, that byline, and then right inside the 18-yard box. They have just not been able to get to that area right now because there is a lot of Brooklyn FC bodies that are in the way and preventing some of that space of the field. But for them, it's going to be about finding some of those final actions, those qualities, the decisive moments, changing the pace of play. They talk about going side to side and pulling opponents apart, but also that incisive ball that then initiates what they're able to generate going forward. And in front of goals, it does look like Wilmer Cabrera has now entered for Charleston Battery.
Underway in the second half from Brooklyn. Marcus Anderson, 2 assists on the goals by Cervania and Stojanovic. So Apononu on for Suber, and Swan comes off for Wilmer Cabrera. So a couple of changes at the half for Ben Pierman as he tries to find answers down 2-0. Kisiedu brings it towards the middle, lays it wide, never got over to Palmov. How intense do you think that halftime locker room was for Ben Pierman? Again, he went there against Charlotte Independence in the Open Cup. I don't think there was a lack of effort tonight in the first half from Charleston. It wasn't a lackadaisical performance. It was just Brooklyn, twice in transition, took advantage of moments.
Yeah, credit Brooklyn FC. They were clinical in the moments they had going forward. Obviously, Marcus Anderson has put a stamp on this game with the 2 assists. As, again, he's able to isolate his defender 1v1 and draw the contact. Leads to the foul on Marcus Anderson and a free kick for Charleston Battery, but definitely not a lack of effort from and work rate from the Charleston Battery, and that's what they pride themselves in, is showcasing that week in, week out, and then layer in the performance. So for them, it's just about how do you pull apart this Brooklyn FC side that is playing that low block. They're making sure that they're being disciplined in not being pulled away from their positioning. So for Charleston Battery, how do you move them? Do you move them on the dribble? Do you move them with link-up play? How do you go about gaining the space you want to get? Obviously, regaining possession in the press is something for the Charleston Battery in moments like this, because you can have the opponent unbalanced, but you just haven't been given a lot of those moments because of how Brooklyn FC have been playing out.
Zamudio just had to be aggressive there because that was a great ball looking for Marcus Anderson, trying to utilize his speed and space. But now Charleston in possession. Martinez off of Olney, and a fortunate bounce for Brooklyn. It's a throw, not a corner. Temperatures dipping into the mid-50s as this match progresses here in Brooklyn. Always enjoy our conversations with Ben Pearman. We asked him about Wilmer Cabrera, whose father, Wilmer, of course, Wilmer Sr. was a head coach in this league as recently as last season. Cabrera, the long throw, comes out for Casiedu, and it's out for a corner to Charleston Battery. And, we asked if he's noticed that Wilmer has the football IQ of a coach's son. And he said a lot of times you'll find coaches' kids are defenders, they're midfielders. But Wilmer has that type of football intelligence as Kelly towards the back post. It'll be another corner for Charleston. Wilmer Cabrera Jr. has that IQ for this game, but as an attacking player.
And that growth mindset.
Yeah.
And that mindset to those marginal gains, the ability to kind of have that laser focus on where you want to improve and how you get there. Early corner for Charleston Battery, so already a positive start. They only had the one corner in the entire first half.
And you think about Cabrera's season last year, so many goal contributions for El Paso. And now with Charleston Battery, he's been coming off the bench, but he's a guy that Ben Pearman told us is very unselfish, more than willing to play whatever role Ben Pearman has in store for.
Yeah, we'll do anything for this team and what this team needs in order to get the results and the performances that it's seeking.
Messer to play the corner in. Only got rid of it. Apononu chases it down. Apononu had a great header that led to the Palmov goal, the insurance goal against Lou City last week. Out for a Charleston throw. First 5 minutes, good start for Charleston, but they haven't been able to turn it into chances. Cabrera will come on for the long throw. Right by the foul line. Took a couple of deflections, and then Alvis gets rid of it. Of course, this is also the home to Brooklyn FC's women's team in Gainbridge Super League and the Brooklyn Cyclones minor league baseball. Messer into the mixer, headed away. Casiedu with the foul on Anderson.
And we talked about Nathan Messer's involvement in the first half. Obviously, there's still a lot of evolution for the Charleston Battery side as a collective offensively on the ball. What they look like in the final third, obviously, has always had a clear identity from what Ben Pearman wants. But still, you're getting to know characteristics and qualities of the players around you. And I think Nathan Messer is one of those. The delivery, some of the early services, some of the quality of the services. I think those are moments that kind of come together as you see this season play on. But you have to like the involvement. So that's step one. And then now it's about starting to grow in recognizing how and when and where he needs those runs to be.
Barry, you can see the size he has out there. He is a big man, physically imposing, pushing 6'4". And he gets the takeaway from McNamara. Cabrera tried to play it back towards Kelly, but ends up with Casiedu. Lays it forward for Martinez, and only was step for step with him. I'll tell you what, the two guys that Brooklyn FC have brought in from the Union organization, Olney and Anderson, who played with Union 2 the last few years, have really been impressive. Cabrera launches. Punched away. Casiedu. Now Messer again. Fakes it. Jeremy Kelly. Cabrera. Martinez, nifty. It's Kelly. Swings it. towards Barry, comes down for Ikaza, and that one is a home run ball into the bullpen. He's had a couple chances in front of goal, once in the first half, and then right there just couldn't hit the target either time.
Yeah, it looked like Miguel Barry was in a better position to go ahead and strike that. Kaza is always kind of drifting away and not fully engaged with where the goal was. Miguel Barry was facing already, but back to what you were saying about the roster and those two players in particular, it goes back to how deliberate they were with putting together this roster. And a lot of teams and a lot of coaches feeling like this team has results out there in them.
Casiedo earns the corner as that goes off of Alves. Goals in the 9th and 32nd from Cervenia and Stojanovic. Can Charleston Battery battle back? Messer. Oy. Wasted opportunity. And I just keep going back to this, and we talked about it earlier, and this is not to make an excuse for Charleston, but this does look like a team that is playing the second half of the final game of a 4-match road swing.
It is, because it's just missing that final bite, that final step.
Against a rested Brooklyn team.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, right when you're getting yourself into good position, you just need that final flip of the switch. You need to either go to the end line, earn the corner, or get to that end line, turn the corner, get to that assist zone. You need to find that and create that opportunity. And it just seems in those moments, that's where they're sputtering out. That's where they're just not connecting. And this is also, going back to not necessarily just the road trip, but this is also the 4th game in which Charleston Battery have put themselves behind.
Yeah.
So it does get exhausting for having to play from behind game after game. Obviously, put themselves down 2-0 against Birmingham Legion. Lost that game at Detroit City. That 1-0 result. We're down 2-0, fought themselves back to 2-2 against Charlotte Independence, but lost in extra time. And then now find themselves down 2-0 again. So that takes a toll on a team. So you add that with the travel and then the congested schedule. They are figuring this out in real time. And it's always interesting because sometimes when you get a disappointing result like they did at Detroit City, I think Ben Pierman made it clear that he thought that his team would respond. They didn't get the response they wanted or desired against Charlotte Independence, but then you get a massive result against Lou City, so you almost think that playing right away after that would be high energy, but
McLaughlin, and that deflects out for a Brooklyn corner.
But that just goes back to the detail that you need when there's just a lack of space and you have a lot of bodies to move there from Brooklyn FC.
How about how Lou City rebounded from the Charleston match? They played last night against Loudoun, 3-3 draw away from home. How many 3-3 draws do you see Lou City playing over the last handful of years?
Not many, to answer your question.
No. I was waiting for you to answer. You left me hanging like that. Okay. Josh Chappelle, Eric Dobransky with you. Approaching the 1-hour mark. Corner whipped in. The header. Van Kaziel sent it high. Van Kaziel, former Tampa Bay Rowdy. That is the next opponent for Charleston. Really good opportunity rising above. And I bring up Tampa Bay. We talk about all the roster turnover for Charleston. Dos Santos is a Rowdy. MD Myers is a Rowdy.
Russell Cicerone.
Yeah, and there will be some kind of reunion next week for the former Battery players that are with Tampa. And
yeah, Russell Cicerone, not a Battery player.
But to your point, the roster they've put together.
Yep.
For Dom Casciato, exactly the start that you could have dreamed of. Flag up here for offside. Jeremy Kelly unsure. And it looks like Brooklyn will make its first change. Malik Pinto will come on. Savania comes out.
Let's see if this changes the overall setup. As we see Pinto in the midfield, and obviously initially off that free kick, Tommy McNamara is higher up the field, but let's see as this settles in what this looks like for Brooklyn FC and Marlon LeBlanc's group.
Olney. Okiyoshi gives off for Van Kaziel. McLaughlin overran it but recovers. Stojanovic lost it to Kelly. Van Kaziel recovers. Cabrera and Pinto collide. Okiyoshi steps forward. Okiyoshi denied by Zamudio.
You almost get the sense that every time that Brooklyn FC commit to go forward, they generate some sort of opportunity, whether it's a shot like that on frame on Zamudio or in a corner.
Flag stays down for now. Anderson in on Zamudio. Anderson slots it home. It's been Marcus Anderson's night. Two assists, and now a goal for the 22-year-old in his first season in the championship. And it's Olney who sprung him loose.
Two players that you mentioned just a few moments ago that have been high level, and Marcus Anderson's work rate has been matched with his magnificent movement off the ball. He has been asking a lot of different questions of this back line. And then on top of that, sometimes when you have that kind of time, you don't see the player finish it because it's just so difficult and the keeper making himself big. But Marcus Anderson meets the run with the composure. What a match thus far for Brooklyn FC. What a response for them.
Anderson's huge night. Olney, his former teammate with Union 2. For Alves. Towards goal. Punched away at the moment. Anderson trying to track it down. Kept alive. McNamara. Zamudio the save.
Yeah, the Charleston battery are shaken right now. They've been able to sustain some of that threat and that possession in the attacking half, but they've just still not been able to reward themselves with any value in those moments. And on the other end, Brooklyn FC, although it's been on the limited scale thus far, now we've seen kind of a higher volume and an uptick right now, but they have been ruthless in some of the chances generated.
Olney delivers the corner. Zamudio punches it down. It's sitting in there. Headed back towards goal. Anderson on it. Anderson denied by Zamudio. He's good for one of those saves, it feels like, every single match. Oh boy, could have gotten even worse for Charleston, but Zamudio there to keep it 3-0.
Yeah, he had two class saves against Lou City. You allow one of those, it's just a different matchup. He is so good navigating traffic in and around the 6-yard box. Now, you have to imagine that the tempo for Charleston Battery is just going to ramp up even more. You concede a fourth. It is what it is. You just need to throw numbers. You need to obviously be within the principles in your game model and your identity. But you have to throw A lot more caution to the wind. Be a bit riskier, a bit braver than you've been in the final third.
Charleston have made 2 changes. Malik Foster and Josu Landry are on. This has been all Brooklyn tonight at home. A shocking scoreline if you're Charleston. Feeling great about themselves after Lou City. Coming into Brooklyn FC, who had lost 4 in a row. Here's that last corner from Brooklyn.
And if Charleston Battery are able to get themselves back in this match where it's 3-1 soon and then possibly 3-2, you're going to look at Zamudio's actions in his 6-yard box and the ability to stay calm and composed, pick up that save. Obviously for himself, would expect more from that Marcus Anderson opportunity. Got to imagine that he would think that he should have made that save, but again, terrific run from Anderson and then met by a calm, composed finish. Good ball.
Casiedu turns it back. Messer going wide on McLaughlin. Van Kaziel over to support. Kelly now. Landry. Corner coming.
And the patience ends up leading to a corner, but that right there is a microcosm of how this match has played out in terms of Brooklyn's ability to get themselves back in defensively in second and third waves, because that ball played in to Kisiedu. You almost feel like he could take a bigger touch in there and then keep drawing defenders out, but he takes that touch backwards. Obviously, he earned the corner here, but that's what I mean about finding those hints of aggressiveness. Now that you always want to find it, but now down 3-0, you have to score the first one very soon to put any sort of pressure on Brooklyn.
Comes out for Casiedu, and he mishit it. Not sure that was the plan from Kelly, but it worked out, and Casiedu couldn't get it to goal. Only with a full head of steam. Landry cuts him off. Play rolls on.
It looked like both players had recognized what space was available. It might have just caught Casiedu off just a moment because Jeremy Kelly maybe pulled the trigger sooner than expected. Brooklyn, 8 shots, 7 on target, 3 goals. I mean, that just goes down the list of.
The XG's at 0.86.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
I'm very confused at that number.
I wasn't going to bring that up. I'm just going to continue to watch the XG kind of find its way towards at least over a goal.
Also, Landry, just to clean up the substitutions, in for Palmov, and Malik Foster in for Emilio Icaza for Charleston. Sylvania, Stojanovic, Anderson. Anderson factored in on all 3 goals, assisted the first 2, scored the third as Cabrera plays it in front. Comes to Barry, and then Alves clears it away. Landry. Now Messer. Only able to flick it on. Martinez. Landry. For Foster. Cuts back to his left. On a big hop. Martinez. Curls it in. Dealt with well once more. Graham Smith. Casiedu. Reset for Apononu. Messer. For Kelly on the turn. Casadu for Landry, just out of his reach. Now Anderson and Brooklyn trying to move in transition. Here they come. McNamara in a race with Apononu, and Apononu gets there first.
We had talked about the Charleston Battery journey thus far and what they have moving forward. This is for Brooklyn FC. They're going to see, I don't want to say another significant break, but they don't play again until the 21st.
It's a long time.
Yep. So it's one of those approaches we mentioned with Charleston Battery. You come off a huge win at Lou City. Obviously, you do seem like you're missing some of that final detail. 4 away road matches in 3 weeks. Is that catching up to you? For Brooklyn FC, do you almost want that next match sooner after a performance like this? Obviously, still a lot to see out in this game. But then on the 21st, you welcome in one of the best teams in the West in Sacramento Republic.
Yeah.
So going to take advantage of that break, continue to build off of the performance they have tonight.
Brooklyn FC fans, here's your shot to upgrade your game day. Scan the QR code on the screen for a chance to win 4 seats in Brooklyn FC's exclusive new pitch side section. Be right on top of the action. Experience the intensity of every play like never before. This is as close as it gets.
Yeah, whereas in Charleston Battery hosting Tampa Bay Rowdies, then at Rhode Island, and then we see everybody in the USL Championship and USL take part in the Prinks Tires USL Cup. Charleston Battery hosts Loudoun in their first matchup on April 25th, and then Brooklyn hosting New York Cosmos as we see changes for Brooklyn FC.
A lot of them. Marcus Anderson, one of the changes. Stojanovic out as well. Massive performance from those two guys, especially Marcus Anderson. Again, 3 goal contributions, a goal and 2 assists. Obregon comes on as well. We'll get the housekeeping done in a moment. And we can tell you each change, but you know, Obregon on. There we go. Nishikawa on for McLaughlin. Obregon for McNamara. Conte for Stojanovic. Cabrera trying to get something going from Malik Foster, but it's Barry now. Cabrera swings it in. Comes for Barry. Barry, too heavy of a touch. Couldn't let it go. Now Messer trying to create space. Kelly taken away by Conte. Now Obregon tried to spring him. I thought Anderson came off. Anderson stayed on. And he's charging ahead again. Anderson for Olney. CJ Olney tried to find Obregon, and Anderson wanted it back from Olney on that left side. Yeah, Anderson honestly had played too well tonight to think he would be coming off.
He wanted a hat trick of assists. Felt like if Olney had continued that run and continued to occupy that space, it would have just been a tuck-away goal. Felt like at the pace he was moving, he was going to take it himself, but what an electric performance Anderson continues to have tonight.
He just turned it into another gear. That speed is a weapon. Conte. That was a physical play there for that foul as Cabrera took the brunt of it.
And now Conte down. Coming right through the back of Wilmer Cabrera. And you wonder if something precedes this play, because we do find Conte down, or he recognizes some discomfort as we do see him back up and involved in play.
That's off Obregon. Another corner coming for Charleston. If it's going to happen for Charleston, it's got to start with this corner opportunity. Messer bounces in the area, still alive. Barry tried to get a piece, but cleared away by Brooklyn.
I know earlier that I interjected in your conversation about homecoming from former Charleston Battery players next week from the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Kind of just throwing Russell Cicerone's name in there, but he has scored in tonight's match.
Of course,
So,
what else is new?
up 2-1 on Oakland Roots.
Hey, you can interject.
I just got so excited about attacking presence.
You can interject anytime you want. That's why you're here.
Knew where you were going, but then I just go right into Russell Cicerone, who just adds to how potent that Rowdy side can be, who is looking to become to add on to only 5 other teams that have started 5-0.
Well, you think about the storied history of Tampa Bay Rowdies. They were not going to let how last season transpired last very long. That was going to be a one-and-done type situation. Made a great hire in Casciato, and they really retooled that roster. Casiedu wide for Messer. Barry deflected it, and that's out for a corner. You think about the attacking pairing that Charleston had last year in Cal Jennings and M.D. Myers. Well, you look at Tampa Bay, M.D. Myers goes there with Russell Cicerone, and the wealth of weapons they have. They're going to be a tough team all year if they stay healthy. As Casiedu drags to his right, was slowed down for a moment, puts it back into the mixer, header towards goal, and Lee with the save. Soccer season is here, and SeatGeek is the official ticketing partner of the USL. Get all your USL tickets and more from the #1 ticketing site, SeatGeek, your ticket to great seats. As Lee, who has not been tested much today, able to make the save there.
Well, then you add Rubio Rubin into that conversation with El Paso now, tied for second in most goals scored in the USL Championship with a teammate of his, Moreno.
Long down the right side, Foster plays it back towards the top of the area. Barry didn't get enough on it, and Kelly with the stop again. Can't watch the match? Turn on Sirius XM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including USL All Access on Tuesday nights with Mike Watts and Devin Kerr. Plus, hear live matches from the USL, MLS, Premier League, and more, all on Sirius XM FC 157 and the Sirius XM app. Speaking of MD Myers, he was the guest on the most recent episode of USL All Access. Time running out on Charleston. This is an excellent performance from Brooklyn. And if they hang on, obviously will be their best performance and would snap a 4-game losing streak. Open the year with a 1-0 win here at Maimonides Park against Indy 11. They've lost 4 in a row, but they've showed some impeccable signs tonight, and they are a little over 10 minutes away from their second win of the season.
Showcased a lot of resilience as well, because when you have to defend at the rate that they've defended tonight, that commitment has been high level. And a lot of players stepping up and playing big roles, and it has just been collective will. And talk about Marcus Anderson and his contributions with the 2 assists and the goal, but his off-the-ball work has been tremendous.
Casiedu, long for Foster. Foster going at Alves. Foster takes it to the end line, plays it in front. Lee is right there.
When that man right there, Jackson Lee, and all the players playing in front of him right now, they would love to close this game out with a clean sheet. You've been comprehensive in everything you've done thus far. You have the 3 goals to show for it. If you could see this game out, pick up your 2nd clean sheet in franchise history and organization history.
This is the first visit to New York for Charleston Battery since 2022. They played Red Bulls 2. That was a win for the Battery. And this visit, not as kind, 4 years later.
I know it's early in the season, but you kind of start getting ideas and hints of what the East is going to look like. I mean,
Martinez, dangerous ball. Lee, though, after the deflection, grabs it.
and have done a good job, Brooklyn FC have, of not retreating too early into their box, but making the plays that they needed to make, making first contact, making sure that the next play was unpredictable for a team that is starting to try to grow in offensively. Going back kind of to the East is Hartford right now getting pelted by El Paso 4-0.
Wow.
Obviously the Rowdies continue to lead 2-1, but Rhode Island.
What a statement from Cano Smith's group.
Yeah, 3-0 up on Lexington right now in the 81st.
What's your take on Lexington early in the season? They spent a lot of money this offseason. They put together a great team on paper. Aaron Malloy, of course, from Charleston, ends up in Lexington. They get Philip Goodrum from Lou City, among other big names. And it's been pretty up and down to start for Lexington.
Yeah, I would think that you look at the players that they have there, they're going to figure it out. And I think a lot of teams, when you look at the season, you start to judge it after the initial 10 games. And I know initial because that's one third of the season. You don't want to put yourself too far behind the 8 ball. But that's when you need to start looking at the trends, the themes, the storylines that have played out in a lot of the results. And right now, Lexington, mentioned Charleston Battery falling behind 4 times thus far this season. Lexington have kind of put themselves in the same situation, struggled to connect in the final third, was 0-0 with Brooklyn FC at the break, but ended up scoring 3 goals to win that 3-0. As we did see some more changes from Marlon LeBlanc's side.
Yeah, Mangione comes on for CJ Olney, who was excellent as well for Brooklyn. Assisted on Anderson's goal, factored into the first one. Started if there were hockey assists, there were secondary assists, he would have gotten one on the first goal from Cervania. Bad giveaway. I think Obregon and Anderson were on the same page there.
It almost looked like if Marcus Anderson was able to get on the ball, there was going to be some serious danger for the Charleston Battery. Bad giveaway here and got numbers.
Nishikawa cuts to his left, leaves it up top for Pinto, sends a rocket wide. You want to talk about stepping into one.
Oh, you go 4v4 there. You like your odds offensively, and then you get the late arrival from Pinto. And that just goes back to the decisiveness that we've seen across the board from Brooklyn FC. Quality individual performances have led to a collective stamp on this match as we see Pinto step into that one. Obviously, it ends up being quite a few yards off goal, but just shows the intent in which Brooklyn FC were looking to play. And mentioned the time off. This was going to take time for Brooklyn FC. It was going to take the reps, the practice, building that identity and building that collective identity, because yes, you can bring in the pieces. We were just talking about Lexington. You can sign the players. You can bring in the characteristics and the qualities that you want in those individual positions, but until you can kind of get those reps and that consistency, you're just going to not see it come to fruition. But now for Brooklyn FC, it's about the sustainability and a week in, week out performance for them.
eFootball is here. Live your dream, rep your team, and play as your favorite USL Championship club. eFootball is free to play, and you can download it now Ben Pierman getting ready to make another substitution. We'll relay it to you in a moment. And they are going to bring on Jack Wayne, the 17-year-old, one of the top prospects in the Southeast. He'll come on for Kisiedu. Wayne appearing in his second career game. Correction, Messer going off. It looked like Kisiedu was coming off the pitch, but it's Messer who exits. Wayne has played 8 minutes in his one appearance. A 17-year-old, and he's on to finish this one out. That comes down to Barry. Back to his left. Make that Foster. Cabrera tried to tee it up, but it's off Latinovic. Wayne tracks it down. And for Ben Pierman, you know, the performance last week, the 3-1 record coming into tonight, that's all great, but he knows bigger picture. This team has a lot they need to figure out, and I think this performance tonight is indicative of that. All the outside factors coming into play. At the end of the day, it's still a 3-0 defeat.
100%, and I think
could be worse. There's still 5 minutes to go plus stoppage time, but they're heading for a 3-0 defeat.
Correct, and I think those that have followed the Battery and have kind of seen the results, and then obviously you look at the performances, it's just been inconsistent.
Yeah.
And that's not what is typical, and that's very uncharacteristic of Battery side.
Kelly swings it in, and Lee jumps to nab it. If there is a coach who you should believe in to get this figured out in this league, it is Ben Pierman. Obviously, there are a ton of high-quality coaches in the championship. But Ben Pierman certainly in that upper echelon.
Well, again, for both these coaches, the way that they're able to communicate and build clarity within the roles of their teams, that is a highlight and a staple of who they are as coaches and how they've managed. So you know that this is going to be a Charleston Battery side that are going to have something to say with who's at top of the East.
Look, Conte and Wayne going at it right now. Wayne with the takeaway, and then he gets taken down from behind pretty hard by Nishikawa. Wayne coming on, and the teenager showing a lot of effort. Marlon LeBlanc on the flip side. How pleased do you think he is with this tonight? I mean, how could you not be?
Oh, yeah, especially with the time off, because you could either come out and be flat to start off with because you're playing a team that has had consecutive reps, has had a lot of games, and a bit of a congestion as we do see the foul on Jack Wayne. But this is the performance that makes you feel good about all the training hours and all the detail that you go through and cover. But I would also dare to say that for this group, they felt like this was the performance that they were leading to.
And that one somehow stayed out that kind of night for Charleston.
Yeah, it almost looked like Jackson Lee was just looking off to his left and hoping that that went wide. He had nothing that he could do because it took that wicked deflection.
This header right at Lee. Lee's been good in the second half when tested.
And back-to-back plays, and you said it just a moment ago, kind of been indicative on the night that Charleston Battery have had. Open header right to the hands of Jackson Lee. Mentioned Brooklyn FC being able to take that time to reset. Obviously still a very quick turnaround for Charleston Battery, but going to be a welcome sight to go back to Patriots Point. I know it's only for one match because then you hit the road.
What else is new for them?
Yeah, exactly. They're going to see this 1/3 of the season, this first 10 games, and be pleased that a lot of their road games are out of the way.
Team that was #1 in the league in scoring last season is on the verge of being shut out for the second time in 3 league games. If they can't get one here before Brad Jensen blows the final whistle. Martinez. Nobody home. Apononu for Smith.
When you look at big picture, obviously you knew inherently that Brooklyn was going to absorb some of this pressure. You're going to see a lot of touches from Charleston Battery in the final third. But final third entries, 81 for Charleston Battery, 29 have concluded with touches in the opposition box, but only 3 shots on target. It just continues to show the commitment and collective nature in which Brooklyn FC has made it so challenging to find that final breakthrough. And they've just been so disciplined in not leaving and vacating their defensive areas.
Play rolls on. Obregon runs into Apononu, and then Kisedu takes it away. They were looking for the exclamation point. Won't find it there. Lee, like a karate kick.
A much needed karate kick at that.
3 minutes of stoppage time, by the way. One more look.
Yeah, quick outlet. And we talk about the performance of Marcus Anderson, only obviously Stojanovic. But Obregon is a player that you look at the overall collective performance tonight. Wouldn't that be a player that once he starts to get into the season, this team can be firing on all cylinders.
Golden Boot winner in League One last year for Westchester, who, by the way, will host MLS side NYCFC in the U.S. Open Cup this week.
I know the person that's calling that game.
Who?
You?
Oh, okay. Big week of Open Cup action, USL Championship, League One, MLS teams enter the fray. Unfortunately, Charleston Battery fell, as we talked about earlier, so they are eliminated from the Open Cup. Brooklyn did not participate this year. Obregon turns, his shot blocked by Apononu. But Westchester, they're going to host an MLS side. League One hosting MLS, the beauty of the Open Cup.
Advanced on penalties.
Didn't have a shot on goal in their win.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, the stat for the Charleston Battery with only the 3 shots and picking up 3 points at Lou City. Can't imagine that no shots on target is a recipe where you see a lot of results go your way, but Westchester did just that. Made a lot of big plays defensively to stay in that game and push it to penalties, and a tremendous performance from Molina in goal.
Martinez cuts it back, and a late corner coming for Charleston as they try and end this on some kind of positive note. The goals for Brooklyn, 2 in the first half, Cervania in the 9th from Anderson, Stojanovic in the 32nd from Anderson, and then Anderson gets one of his own in the 61st from Olney. Cabrera, again, that kind of night, mishit on the volley, out for a goal kick. The USL Championship and League One are on CBS Sports and ESPN platforms all season long. Catch live matches like this one and expert analysis like Eric's every day on the CBS Sports Golazo Network and ESPN+. Go to USLChampionship.com or USLLeague1.com for the complete USL TV listings.
I would question that because going into this game, I highlighted how 3 matches at home have all been 1 goal differentials, and this has just been an explosion for Brooklyn FC. Obviously have exceeded their total goals scored for the entire season in this one match.
They had 2 coming in.
And then looking to pick up their 2nd clean sheet of the season, and that would be 2 of 4 at home. Mentioned those fine margins that have come to define it. 1-0 against Indy 11, 2-1 against Hartford, 1-0 against Lou City, and then this final, they do pick up the clean sheet. What a performance by that man's group. Marlon LeBlanc, his players pressed the reset button, and they rewarded themselves with how they executed tonight.
3-0 the final, a clean sheet for Lee and Brooklyn FC. What a night for Marcus Anderson. 3 goals for Brooklyn. They take down Charleston Battery. They blank them 3-0. It all got started in the first 10 minutes. Cervania got the first. Then Stojanovic, about 20 minutes later, Anderson put the capper on it an hour in, and it's a 3-0 win for Brooklyn. We'll wrap it up next.
Hearts. No two beat the same. So we built a team of the best heart surgeons, pioneers of the most modern techniques, who always find the one approach that's best for you. But while each surgery is unique, the outcome is the same: the highest success rates. NYU Langone Health.
Welcome back to Maimonides Park celebration here on the turf in Brooklyn. 3-0 the final. Brooklyn takes down Charleston Battery. The Battery blanked for the second time in 3 league matches. Josh Appel, Eric Dobransky here to wrap things up for you as we take a look at our full-time highlights from Brooklyn's 3-0 win. It all got started in the opening 10 minutes. After an early chance for Emilio Icaza in front of goal for Charleston, it was Brooklyn in transition, just like Ben Pierman told us, they cash in.
And spoiler alert, you're going to have a lot of involvement from that man right there, Marcus Anderson, involved in all 3 goals, set up 2, scored the 1, and they were decisive, they were clinical, and then they were ruthless in behavior, because this is not an easy take, but you fight through the traffic, you shape that ball in which that it catches Zamudio off guard. He's not even able to attempt to save. Great start for Brooklyn FC, and then it just continues to get better. Subtle pass forward from Tommy McNamara, and then leave the rest to Marcus Anderson to play forward, but then that man just punishing from distance. Stojanovic gets his defender to continue to back off, and that's usually when he's at his best. Connects with that ball perfectly, up 2-0. They take that 2-0 advantage into the break. You wonder what kind of behaviors they were going to exude going into the second half. Were they going to keep their foot on the gas? And they did just that. Marcus Anderson, the terrific goal in the second half, played in from Olney, who had a performance of his own.
I know a lot of the possession numbers are because Brooklyn sat back, but how many 3-0 wins do you see in this league where the side that didn't score has 71% of the possession?
Yeah, and it's just ruthless how those metrics can kind of be deceiving, but 10 shots, 7 on target, they were effective.
That'll do it for us here from Maimonides Park in chilly Brooklyn. From our broadcast partner, Eric Dobransky, our producer, Miguel Machado, this is Josh Appel saying so long from Brooklyn. The final, Brooklyn FC snaps a 4-game losing streak with a 3-0 win over Charleston Battery. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.